a small, quiet town nestled between rolling hills and dense forests. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone and life moves at a slower, more deliberate pace. The town is called Maplewood, a name that evokes images of cozy autumn days, warm fires, and a sense of community that feels almost timeless. But for our protagonist, life in Maplewood is anything but idyllic. Daniel Carter, a 35-year-old single dad who's been through more than his fair share of hardships. Daniel is a man of average height, with a lean build that speaks of long hours of manual labor. His dark hair is streaked with premature gray, and his hazel eyes carry a weight that hints at the struggles he's endured. Despite the lines of stress etched into his face, there's a kindness in his expression, a quiet strength that draws people to him. Daniel's life hasn't been easy. He lost his wife, Emily, to cancer 3 years ago, leaving him to raise their 8-year-old daughter, Lily, on his own. Emily was the love of his life, his rock, and her death left a void that Daniel has struggled to fill. He works 2 jobs to make ends meet, a mechanic by day and a delivery driver by night. But no matter how hard he works, it feels like he's always one step behind. Bills pile up, and the weight of responsibility presses down on him like a lead blanket. Lily is Daniel's world. She's a bright, spirited little girl with her mother's smile and her father's determination. She loves drawing, and her room is filled with colorful sketches of animals, landscapes, and fantastical creatures. Daniel does his best to be there for her, but the long hours and constant stress have taken their toll. He often feels like he's failing her, like he's not doing enough to give her the life she deserves. A crisp autumn evening, the kind where the air is cool and the sky is painted in shades of orange and pink as the sun dips below the horizon. Daniel is on his way home from his second job, exhausted and lost in thought. His old pickup truck rattles as he drives down a quiet country road, the kind of road where you're more likely to see a deer than another car. He's thinking about Lily, about how he's going to make rent this month, about how he wishes he could give her more. As he rounds a bend in the road, he spots a car pulled over on the shoulder. It's a sleek, expensive-looking sedan, the kind of car that stands out in a town like Maplewood. The hood is up, and a woman is standing beside it, looking frustrated and a little lost. Daniel slows down, his instincts kicking in. He's not the kind of man to drive past someone in need. He pulls over behind the sedan and gets out of his truck. The woman turns to him, and he's struck by how out of place she looks. She's in her mid-40s, with perfectly styled hair and a designer coat that probably costs more than Daniel makes in a month. Her face is a mix of relief and apprehension as she approaches him. "Thank you so much for stopping," she says, her voice tinged with desperation. "I don't know what's wrong with my car's tire. It just punctured." Daniel nods, already moving to take a look under the hood. "Let me see what I can do," he says, his voice calm and reassuring. The woman introduces herself as Margaret Hayes. She's polite but reserved, clearly not used to being in a situation where she's dependent on someone else's help. Daniel quickly diagnoses the problem, a flat tire, and offers to change it for her. Margaret is visibly relieved, and as Daniel gets to work, she starts to open up a little. She tells him she's on her way to a business meeting in the city, an important one that she can't afford to miss. She's clearly stressed, and Daniel can't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. He knows what it's like to feel like the world is bearing down on you. Like one wrong move could send everything crashing down. As he finishes changing the tire, Margaret thanks him profusely. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped," she says, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "You're a lifesaver." Daniel shrugs it off, brushing off her thanks with a modest smile. "It's no trouble," he says. "Just glad I could help." They exchange a few more pleasantries before Margaret gets back in her car and drives off, leaving Daniel standing by the side of the road. He watches her taillights disappear into the distance, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. It's a small thing, helping someone out, but it's a reminder that even in his own struggles, he can still make a difference. Little does he know, this chance encounter is about to change his life in ways he could never have imagined. The days pass, and life in Maplewood goes on as usual. Daniel continues to juggle his 2 jobs, doing his best to keep up with the demands of work and parenthood. Lily is his constant source of joy, her laughter and boundless energy a bright spot in his otherwise exhausting routine. But the stress is starting to wear on him. He's been falling behind on bills, and the landlord has started leaving increasingly stern notices on his door. He's running out of options, and the weight of it all is beginning to feel unbearable. One evening, as Daniel is getting ready for his night shift, there's a knock at the door. He's not expecting anyone, and the sound startles him. He opens the door to find Margaret Hayes standing on his porch, looking as polished and put together as she did the day he helped her on the side of the road. "Margaret?" Daniel says, surprised. "What are you doing here?" Margaret smiles, but there's a seriousness in her eyes that makes Daniel uneasy. "I need to talk to you," she says. "May I come in?" Daniel hesitates, but curiosity gets the better of him. He steps aside, allowing her to enter. The contrast between Margaret's elegant presence and the modest, slightly worn interior of Daniel's home is stark. She takes a seat on the couch, her eyes scanning the room with a thoughtful expression. "Daniel," she begins, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I owe you more than just a thank you. What you did for me that day, it meant more than you know." Daniel shifts uncomfortably, unsure of where this is going. "It was nothing really," he says. "I was just doing what anyone would do." Margaret shakes her head. "No, Daniel. Not everyone would have stopped. Not everyone would have gone out of their way to help a stranger. You did, and it made me realize something." She pauses, taking a deep breath before continuing. "I've spent my entire life focused on my career, on building my business, on accumulating wealth. I thought that was what mattered, that success was measured by how much you had. But meeting you, it made me see things differently. You have so little, and yet you gave so much. You reminded me of what's truly important." Daniel is speechless, unsure of how to respond. Margaret reaches into her bag and pulls out an envelope, handing it to him. "This is for you," she says. "It's a small token of my gratitude." Daniel opens the envelope, his eyes widening as he sees the check inside. "It's for $50,000. I can't accept this," he says immediately, his voice filled with disbelief. "It's too much." Margaret shakes her head. "You can, and you will. This money isn't just a thank you, Daniel. It's an investment. I see something in you, something special. I want to help you, to give you the chance to build a better life for yourself and your daughter." Daniel is overwhelmed, his mind racing. He wants to refuse, to tell her he can't take her money, but the thought of what this could mean for Lily stops him. This could be the break they've been waiting for, the chance to finally get ahead. But as he looks at Margaret, he can't shake the feeling that there's more to this than meets the eye. "Why are you really doing this?" he asks, his voice tinged with suspicion. Margaret's expression softens, and for the first time, Daniel sees a vulnerability in her eyes. "Because I've been where you are," she says quietly. "I know what it's like to struggle, to feel like the world is against you. And I know what it's like to be given a second chance. I'm giving you that chance, Daniel. Don't waste it." Daniel is torn, his emotions in turmoil. He wants to believe her, to accept this gift and the hope it represents. But there's a part of him that's wary, that wonders what strings might be attached. Before he can respond, Margaret stands, her decision made. "Think about it," she says, "but don't take too long. Opportunities like this don't come around often." With that, she leaves, leaving Daniel standing in the middle of his living room, holding a check that could change his life. Daniel spends the next few days in a state of turmoil. The check sits on the kitchen table, a constant reminder of the choice he has to make. He wants to believe that Margaret's offer is genuine, that this is the break he's been waiting for. But there's a nagging doubt in the back of his mind, a fear that accepting the money will come with strings attached. He tries to push the thoughts aside, focusing on his work and taking care of Lily. But the weight of the decision is always there, lurking in the background. He finds himself second-guessing everything, questioning his own judgment. One evening, as he's tucking Lily into bed, she looks up at him with those big, innocent eyes and asks, "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" The question hits him like a punch to the gut. He forces a smile, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Of course we are, sweetheart," he says, his voice steady despite the turmoil inside. We're always going to be okay. But as he leaves her room, the doubt creeps back in. He knows he can't keep going like this, living paycheck to paycheck, always one step away from disaster. He needs to make a decision. The next morning, Daniel makes up his mind. He's going to accept the money. It's a risk, but it's one he has to take. He calls Margaret, arranging to meet her at a cafe in town. When he arrives, Margaret is already there, sipping a cup of tea and looking as composed as ever. She smiles when she sees him, gesturing for him to sit down. "I've made my decision," Daniel says, getting straight to the point. "I'll accept your offer, but I need to know, why are you really doing this?" Margaret's smile falters, and for a moment, she looks almost sad. "I told you the truth, Daniel," she says. "I see something in you, something I once had. I want to help you because I know what it's like to feel like the world is against you. But there's more to it than that." She pauses, her eyes searching his. "I'm dying, Daniel. I have cancer, and the doctors say I don't have much time left. I've spent my life building a fortune, but now that I'm facing the end, I realize how empty it all is. I want to do something meaningful with the time I have left. I want to help someone who deserves it." Daniel is stunned, his mind reeling. He hadn't expected this, hadn't prepared for it. He doesn't know what to say, how to respond. Margaret reaches across the table, placing her hand over his. "Take the money, Daniel. Use it to build a better life for yourself and your daughter. Don't let this opportunity pass you by." Tears well up in Daniel's eyes, and he nods, unable to speak. He feels a mix of emotions, gratitude, sadness, fear, and hope. He knows that this is a turning point, a moment that will change everything. But as he leaves the cafe, the check in his hand, he can't shake the feeling that this is just the beginning. He has no idea what the future holds, but he knows that he's about to embark on a journey that will test him in ways he can't yet imagine. In the weeks that follow, Daniel begins to put Margaret's gift to use. He pays off his debts, catches up on rent, and even manages to set aside some money for Lily's future. He quits his second job, allowing himself more time to spend with his daughter. For the first time in years, he feels a sense of hope, belief that things might actually get better. But the journey isn't without its challenges. Daniel struggles with feelings of guilt, wondering if he deserves this stroke of luck. He worries about what people will think, about whether they'll judge him for accepting such a large sum of money. He even considers giving it back, but the thought of what it could mean for Lily keeps him going. As the months pass, Daniel begins to see the impact of Margaret's gift on his life. He's able to spend more time with Lily, taking her to the park, helping her with her homework, and just being there for her in a way he hasn't been able to in years. He starts to feel like a better father, like he's finally giving her the life she deserves. But the biggest change comes when Daniel decides to use some of the money to start his own business. He's always had a passion for cars, and with Margaret's help, he's able to open a small auto repair shop in town. It's a risk, but it's one he's willing to take. He pours his heart and soul into the business, working long hours to make it a success, and it pays off. The shop becomes a hit, with customers praising Daniel's skill and honesty. He's able to hire a few employees, and for the first time in his life, he feels a sense of pride in what he's accomplished. He's not just surviving anymore, he's thriving. But the journey isn't just about financial success. It's about personal growth, about learning to believe in himself and his abilities. Daniel begins to see himself in a new light, not as a struggling single dad, but as a capable, resilient man who's overcome incredible odds. And through it all, he never forgets Margaret. He keeps in touch with her, visiting her when he can and updating her on his progress. She becomes a mentor and a friend, someone he can turn to for advice and support. Her belief in him gives him the confidence to keep going, even when things get tough. But as time goes on, Margaret's health begins to decline. Daniel is there for her in her final days, holding her hand and thanking her for everything she's done. Her passing is a blow, but it's also a reminder of the impact she's had on his life. She gave him a second chance, and he's determined to make the most of it. Daniel's story is one of resilience, of hope, and of the power of kindness. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there's always a chance for redemption, for a new beginning. And it's a testament to the fact that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can have the biggest impact. As Daniel stands in his shop, watching Lily play in the corner, he feels a sense of peace he hasn't felt in years. He knows that the road ahead won't always be easy, but he's ready to face it, to keep moving forward. And he knows that no matter what happens, he'll always be grateful for the woman who changed his life with a simple act of kindness. Life is full of twists and turns, and sometimes the smallest moments can lead to the biggest changes. Daniel's story is a reminder that no matter how difficult things may seem, there's always hope. It's a testament to the power of kindness, of believing in others, and of never giving up, even when the odds are stacked against you. So the next time you see someone in need, don't hesitate to lend a hand. You never know how much of an impact you might have. And remember, no matter how tough life gets, there's always a chance for a new beginning. Keep going, keep believing, and never lose sight of the light at the end of the tunnel. If this story inspired you or gave you chills, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your friends and family, and if you want more powerful and emotional stories like this one, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, so you never miss an update. We'd also love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below about this story, and if you enjoyed this story, give it a big thumbs up. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that touch hearts and inspire change. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next story.